So, briefly once we were at an event, I think I was with Sarah Kleinpeter, and she introduced me.
She just texted me a minute ago.
Sarah, speaking of a mess.
Yeah.
She
Brian, so what I
Intimidating.
thought we could do is you can just introduce the topic. I'll talk a little bit about it. Talk to Chris. Chris is the director of the CJCC Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee.
Okay.
And he can tell you what that is about first, and then we can get into Veterans Court. And he is a veteran. He's a Navy veteran.
Is Veterans Court happening?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'd like to talk about the start of Veterans Court, and for the most part, he'll do the talking as the points.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been one of my biggest projects, leading to came down here.
So, yeah, we had, who was it? Forget what he was running for. Quintillis Lawrence.
Yes.
Was running, and this was like
A long time ago.
Yeah. And he spelled out the case for why it was needed and everything, and I'm like, I'm in. I put him in touch with Franklin Foyle, and I didn't know where it went from there.
But we're going to do baby steps.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes involved. We just got notified at the beginning of October that we're getting BJA funds to start it up. So the feds are giving us like $700,000 to start it up. I'll mess it up. I'm talking.
All right, time to get a look at your forecast, and things will be a little bit cooler today and a lot cooler tomorrow. Today's high is 82 degrees, which doesn't sound all that cool, but remember, yesterday got up to 89. Overnight low tonight down to 53. We top out at 79 tomorrow. We top out at 80 on Friday, but look ahead to Saturday. After some potential rain late Friday, your Saturday high, 62 degrees. Overnight low Saturday night into Sunday is getting all the way down to 39. Right now, we're at 74 degrees under sunny skies in Baton Rouge. .738, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. All right, every month we are happy to welcome in our district attorney, Hillar Moore, and he's got a special guest with him today, Chris Zonka. Fellas, welcome. How are you?
Great, Brian. How you doing? Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back on. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. We've got a lot of ground to cover here, so I'm just going to hand off. Y'all take this. Y'all know where this is going. Y'all take it.
Yeah, so, in connection with Veterans Week, Veterans Month, and respect for all of our veterans, we have Chris is a veteran of the United States Navy, 10 years. We thank him for his service, and the folks that you had prior to us, thank them for their service.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we've always looked at, and by the way, Chris is the director or runs the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. We have a committee of all of the different criminal justice agencies. You pick them. Mm-hmm. We have a big meeting, and we try to get together to figure out what's the best way to coordinate criminal justice efforts.
Okay.
One of the things that are big ideas of Chris's, also Judge Don Johnson and Judge Ron Johnson, the brother judges, was Veterans Court.
Yes.
And we always have known that we have a need for a Veterans Court. Veterans are special people. They have special problems. And they're special people in the sense that they really don't want to be notified to call out in court that I'm a veteran and I'm suffering, because they're proud people.
Right.
And so we have to find a way to try to identify their problems and help them. And we came up with the idea of the Veterans Court together. But again, giving the kudos to the judges and Chris. And I'd like Chris to explain a little bit about the CJCC and then the Veterans Court, how we're going to get this off the ground.
All right. Yeah. Let's start with CJCC before we dive fully in on the Veterans Court.
So the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council was created roughly 4 years ago in a private-public partnership to kind of bring all the major justice partners and community members and municipal people together so they could talk as one about the justice process and how to make it better, not just for the people going through it, but for the people who are working in it. And we've done a lot over the last 4 years. Veterans Treatment Court is, for me, being a vet, is one of the things that I'm holding closest to the heart. We've done a lot of other things, helped them, brought people in, helped them streamline processes, made the process more efficient, and we continue to do that. That's our whole focus.
All right, Veterans Treatment Court. What goes into this? And we'll get into the history of it that Hillar kind of explained a little bit, but what goes into this? What makes it different than a regular courtroom?
So in a regular courtroom, you would have someone be arrested. They would be brought in front of a judge. A bond would be assigned. They'd go through the regular process of trial if they go to trial. And they don't look at them as a veteran. They don't even ask the question in the standard process, are you a veteran of the U.S.? armed forces. The other one is, do you have any underlying issues that may have led to you being here that we can help address? And that's what the Veterans Specialty Court does. You identify them as veterans, they agree to participate, and what happens is we have a direct relationship with the Louisiana Veterans Administration. They get them services that only vets are able to get through their veteran connections. And they go through a process, and they report in court, and they have a whole lot of support and mentoring from other veterans who are volunteering their time to make sure that they get their issues addressed and they don't cycle back through, because we found that veterans are one of the most likely, if gone unnoticed, to kind of recidivate through the system.
So let me ask you, and I already know the answer to the question, so let me ask you the devil's advocate questions. That what sets a veteran apart that is deserving of a separate court altogether?
So there's 25,000 veterans in East Baton Rouge Parish, right? At any given time, about 5,000 of those are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, based on the data that we know. The PTSD that they bring back from serving in the military leads to other things, leads to them self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, leads to them which also leads to them becoming intertwined in the criminal justice system for doing those things. That, if we don't address the PTSD and the issues that come along with that, I think we're doing a disservice to them, because they haven't been identified and they just cycle back through. So
now let me ask this one, because this was the other question I got the first time this came up. And we've had a couple of guests on the show in the past as this was, in the idea phase. Does the establishment of a veterans treatment court affect outcome or affect approach?
Both.
Okay.
Both, in that now they're identified and the people who are vets are placed into this court, and they're provided all these wraparound services that address their needs, whatever they may be, and they're followed through the process, which then makes them less likely to come back into the system. So on both ends, it works.
The reduction of the recidivism and the treatment of actual mental health aspects, to me, were the biggest takeaways the first time I'd heard about this, because, there are things you can't unsee, and you will carry PTSD with you throughout, through a lens that I will never, ever be able to understand. And it's important to step back and say, I'm not going to understand this. Let's hand off to somebody who does. And we've seen it. We've seen a growing wave, and I always credit State Senator Franklin Foyle. I don't know his direct involvement in this, but every single legislative session, he has 1, 2, possibly 3 bills that are directly veteran related, whether that be business services, whether that be B2B services, whether that be making sure veterans know how to connect with other veterans in some way, shape, or form, because it is, I don't want to say it's a different language, but it's a different understanding.
It absolutely is. And we didn't have direct contact with Foyle, but we did have some direct support from Garrett Graves and some of the other state legislators as we applied to the Bureau of Justice Affairs for funding for this, which we were awarded just recently. In October, we were awarded $700,000 to start this.
Okay, how much can $700,000 do?
$700,000 can do a lot. It can get us up off the ground. We can put staff in place. We can start putting all the pieces in place. We're hoping to get, it's a 4-year grant from BJA, so we're hoping to get the program up and running and start putting the first participants in by early summer.
Hillar, what does this look like from an application standpoint, from the actual court standpoint? Does a veterans treatment court need a veteran judge? Is it a different post somebody would have to run for?
Surely that helps, and that's why we're kind of doing it. But one of the big problems, and a question that we're going to have to answer, is how do you solicit the veteran status from a defendant? Because oftentimes I think you cannot ask that question as they enter the jail. Are you a veteran or not? I don't know that you can ask that question legally and require some answer. When we were first starting this, I think we were prohibited from doing that. But it can be asked, obviously, by the court, in court. They do not have to answer that question, or they may want to answer it privately. Okay. But when they have a lawyer, appointed a lawyer, the judge can surely say, is your client a veteran? And we can get to that answer. We could possibly ask in some kind of way, but so that is going to be an issue, how we identify those people, or will they self-identify?
Well, I would imagine the military keeps pretty good records. Is that something that we could just take it out of their hands altogether and have some sort of database that's already built in?
I think that's a little bit harder to do than what you would think, although you want to try to help someone.
That's true. We can we have direct connections with the local VA that can run people if they claim that they've served, and then verify their veteran status. But it's much harder just to kind of like mass run everybody that's going through the justice process. And there's a little stigma too. We found that vets who are newly arrested tend not to claim veteran status because of the shame involved in that. It kind of contradicts with the core values of all the branches.
Sure.
Spending some time there, one of the things we're doing is we're working with the sheriff's office because they have a lot of veterans who work at the jail as correctional officers, and letting them be there a few days and then going back to their units and saying, hey, are there any vets here that they want to talk about it, maybe get some special services. We
are talking with Navy vet Chris Zonka and District Attorney Hillar Moore about the soon-to-be reality of a veterans treatment court. What kind of timeline are we looking at here?
Chris, you want to? We're probably looking at maybe early summer. This is going to take some time to get off the ground and get the people in place, the funding. So it's going to take a little time.
Yep, I agree. Once we start getting some of the people, one of the most necessary components, and we're working now to start filling that, are mentors. The court is built where a participant coming through the court is buddied up, basically. And we call them battle buddies, we call them mentors, and they're volunteers who are veterans. And it creates this atmosphere, almost like the military, of where it's encouragement from somebody who came from something that you came from. They understand that, and you have direct connection to them.
I mean, it's incredibly cool stuff. The mentor side of this, it feels like that's a different approach as well. Do we see that in everyday life as well?
Not really. I mean, these are highly specialized type of people that have been through things, as opposed to somebody that's a regular person, never been in the service, that has PTSD. We see that in kids all the time. So this is something that's really unique and special.
You go back to the funding that's popped in, $700,000. Are there other avenues of funding to keep this thing going long term?
What will happen is once we prove success in that and we start showing, our data starts showing that we have people coming through, they're not recidivating, they're graduating successfully. Eventually, we will be taken into the state network of specialty courts, and funding will come in from that way. So yes, it is sustainable.
So, Chris, do you also find that the veterans that are coming through the court have more specialized types of cases like domestic violence and alcohol, drugs, that where the victims are related to the veteran defendant, and so by going through treatment, that whole family is going to be better, and they're going to be better as compared to burglary or a gun case or something like that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of the intimate partner charges that come out there, a lot of those, if they're a veteran, is stemming from that PTSD and them going untreated, undiagnosed, and a lot of that self-medication, so that would work.
We're going to take a quick break here on air. On Facebook Live, we are going to continue the conversation with District Attorney Hillar Moore and with Chris Zonka. We're talking about the Veterans Treatment Court and what its real-life applications are going to look like. Let's visit this on the back end of this break after we check your money now and we check traffic. Let's take a look at how it lightens the caseload for the rest of the courts as well, because this seems... the more this is explained, the more it feels like a win-win. So quick break on air, coming back. Stick with us on Facebook Live. We don't go away over there. You're listening to Mornings with Brian Haldane on Talk 107.3. We call it On the Air with Hillar Moore. We do it once a month right here on Talk 107.3. That's it, Talk 107.3 twice in one sentence. Did not mean to do that. So, yeah, when we come back, I want to address the other end of that is when y'all, I mean, there's just a backlog right now of everything.
Sure. But, I think, I'm not sure that this will really adequately address a backlog, because this is going to be really highly concentrated. We're going to start very slow, just like the domestic violence court we talked about last month. We're looking at maybe 20 people that are felons, 20 people that are misdemeanors. I think we're probably going to look around the same number here to start off. It's not going to be a volume.
Okay.
We have to walk into it.
Let's walk down that path anyway, because I mean, it feels like a chipping away. Let's see.
Look, we're going to have to.
Well, what you see nationally is kind of the shift to these specialty courts, which allows people to get specialty services for whether it's drug court or mental health court, domestic violence intervention court, veterans court. But then that also, the people who have identified needs move to these specialty courts, and it allows a little better flow through the regular court process.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't think any of us can tell you how many defendants that have active cases are military.
Yeah.
It's just not a
Right.
box you check and you keep.
Yeah, that's
but
what
keeping data is going to be important for us for success and future grants, and then expansion. Also, making it known to the public and the military and to defense lawyers that, hey, ask your client, public defender, ask your client, can he fit in this? And then that way it gets expanded.
No, they'll keep that in the background until they don't get the verdict they want. Then they'll come back and say, no, we should have been over there.
Yeah.
that's
I have Franz on too much. I'm starting to think like.
I get that.
All right, well, that's where we'll go when we come back. Yeah, the movement towards the specialty courts. I've once you start to see it come across, it becomes that much more clear why they were needed in the first place. It's like, why did we fight this?
Well, I think we're realizing just cycling them through the court process and giving them probation or sending them to prison isn't solving the underlying issues, because some of these people do carry significant baggage with them.
I think
That puts them in that position.
Yes.
I think, though, the new VA hospital since the hurricane in New Orleans, and it seems that their services have really stepped up, and that veterans are getting a whole lot better treatment and service than they have in the past that I've seen as the DA with reports that come in. So I think it fits in great with starting the Veterans Court.
Oh, just the diagnosis of PTSD.
Yeah.
20 years ago, that was never, I mean,
Yeah.
you barely heard about that of vets coming out. But
Yeah.
since since Afghanistan and everything else, PTSD has become more and more prevalent. And
Yeah.
like we have 20 veteran suicides a day.
Yeah.
And the bulk of those are linked to undiagnosed issues with PTSD. So,
Yeah. By the way, Niles Hamer's watching on Facebook right now. He says, "Good job, Chris."
Good.
he's my deputy.
As the executive director of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, he added that in. We started with that, Niles. But he says the CJCC is doing amazing work with justice stakeholders, improving the local criminal justice system.
He's selling himself, man.
No, and then he posted a link.
Good man.
He included a
He's a
link.
good guy.
So that's
I think he's
very
working
well
for
done.
a raise.
Yeah.
Very well done.
He's my social media guy too.
We'll give him a raise.
At work, he's the one that does all of it.
It's been a minute. I haven't had Niles on the show. It's been a
Want
while.
to talk about the mayor's breakfast tomorrow? Could you could,
I don't have the specifics.
Thank
for
you,
the
Stuart.
breakfast.
but if you just say tomorrow will be more announcement or
Yeah.
Judge Johnson.
I can do that.
His up. Whoa. Every single chair.
Oh, he hit the light. I think.
Oh, okay.
It's your birthday today?
Yeah.
The
Happy birthday to you.
The Kimball sisters just texted me.
Oh, wait.
I mean, the Kimball brothers.
Oh,
They're listening.
guys. They were.
Hi, Mike and
they were-
Mitch.
So Mitch was on my team and Mike was on retreat. So we just
Both
got
Mitch.
done with the latest acts, which
Good luck with that.
they were fantastic. Both of them. Both of them.
Has some crazy brothers.
Oh, I love them to pieces. So, yeah, Mitch and I were actually on retreat together like when X first got to Mercy. We were both on the second one. So we finally got Mike on board. It's like, why was I fighting them? I don't know, dude. I don't
Mitch needs a haircut.
know. Mitch does need a haircut. That's legit.
Okay. If you listen on Facebook, please get some money together
I
and
mean,
put it up to get some shear shaggers, and we can.
look, I can handle it for him if he wants. That's easy peasy right there.
Sure, you've been busy with all the election stuff today.
Yeah, it's this whole week is just jam packed. I mean, coming off the Bama game into Election Day, it's Veterans Week
Yeah.
across the board, which I really like the fact that we look at this as Veterans Week now.
Yeah, I think that's a new thing too.
It is.
And I'm glad
This
that
is
they've
only
dedic-
like the second
it's-
year that I think it's been looked at that way.
It's really more than a week too. It's at least 10 days. They got stuff planned over the 2 weekends.
Good. 856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, 74 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. A couple minutes ago with District Attorney Hillar Moore and Chris Sonka talking about the Veterans Treatment Court. Hillar, I was asking you heading into the break about every court that we've got right now is looking at a backlog of cases.
Yeah.
Will this do anything to affect that?
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to really impact backlog a lot. Right now, we can't even tell you how many cases are veteran-related defendants. So this is really not designed for backlog. It's designed to help these people not come back again in the system. So I don't think the capacity is not there for impact.
All right. Well, it was an option to explore. And honestly, if you're looking at reducing recidivism, you're reducing future backlog,
Right.
to be sure.
Yes.
So
This addresses a long game.
it absolutely does. And to go along with that, if we could recap for just a little bit the history that went into this, we kind of skipped past the chapter there to get from idea to that $700,000. What went on in that middle time? How has this been a tough sell?
It was never a tough sell. The hardest part was getting everybody together, because when you talk to them individually, it was like, yeah, we should do that. We should definitely do that. But just getting them together to start doing the legwork and putting the pieces together needed to, one, apply for the federal funding to do that. We went through two processes, and we also went through a whole training session over the last 9 months for implementing a veterans treatment court, and getting the commitment from the people to do that it wasn't hard, but you coordinated all.
We also had 2 years of COVID that interrupted
It did.
what we were doing.
Absolutely. Which, yeah, that continues to rear its ugly head. Did we have a template? Did somebody else, did we look at another court to kind of emulate what we want to do?
So there are two other active veterans courts in Louisiana. One's in Lake Charles, the other one's St. Tammany. They're both doing a really good job. There's roughly 600 of them across the country. They have Bureau of Justice Affairs has an entire section set up just for veterans courts, and they walk you through the process of putting everything together to get it all set up and functioning. So there's a national model.
The up and running by next summer. I mean, we're saying it's going to take a minute. That feels like it's really soon, though.
It's quick. It's been 3+ years we've been working on this. So next summer is almost tomorrow after 3 years. We're happy about that.
Before we get you out of here, a little bit more on the CJCC. If folks want to learn more about that, where can they go?
ebrcjcc.org, and it tells you all about us. We have a community engagement section where, as a community member, you want to sit and talk with some of us. We meet once a month for that. We also have a board, which Hillar said earlier is all the major justice partners, and we have community members on that as well, and just work to make the system more efficient, better for everybody.
And as far as the Veterans Court, to learn more about this, where could folks go for that?
So there is a brief press release on the 19th JDC website. There's also going to be a questionnaire for people interested in being mentors.
Okay.
That's going to be active by the end of the week. They can go to the 19th JDC website, and we are going to be creating some materials to hand out and put out for it.
Definitely a highlight of Veterans Week. Chris, Hillar, thank you all so much for the time today.
Thank you, Brian.
We are straight up done on the air today. We're going to pick things back up tomorrow. Yes, we'll be talking business with Patty G. Yes, we will have Crime Stoppers and a whole lot more. We'll see you then. Good stuff, guys. Hey, Facebook, we gotta get out for the day. We'll see y'all back at it tomorrow.